Hello there, and welcome tonight. We will take a long walk into time itself, into the layers of earth that lie hidden beneath our feet, into the silence that holds stories older than imagination. This is not the story of pyramids or kings, not the tale of ships at sea or cities under the sun. This is something deeper, quieter, and far stranger. Tonight, we are asking a question that sounds at first like a bedtime riddle, but lingers in the mind like a haunting echo. What if we are not the first? What if, long before the rise of our own kind, long before the paintings on cave walls, and the scratching of symbols onto clay, long before the flickering of firelight against stone ceilings, there was another civilization? Not a mythical Atlantis born of legend, not visitors from the stars, but a people born of Earth itself. A civilization that grew, thrived, and vanished so completely that the planet erased almost every trace. It is a strange thought, isn't it? We measure history in centuries, in millennia if we are patient. We look at ruins and say they are ancient when they are only a few thousand years old. To us, 10,000 years feels almost eternal. Yet the earth is not measured in centuries or millennia. The earth counts its age in billions. Our entire known human story is but a thin scratch on the surface of that unimaginable span. Imagine holding a book that is 4.5 billion pages long, each page a year. Our history as humans, from the first farming villages to skyscrapers and satellites, would fill only the last handful of pages. And if that is true, then what might have been written in the middle chapters? What might have been erased, pressed down by stone, scattered by oceans, melted by fire, folded into mountains? Some scientists call this the Silurian hypothesis. It is the idea that if another industrial or technological civilization had arisen millions of years ago, their traces might be almost impossible to detect today. The earth is an eraser as much as it is a storyteller. Stone forms, shifts, crumbles, and reforms. Oceans open and close, continents drift, bones turn to dust. Even plastic and steel, which we think of as permanent, might dissolve into nothing given enough millions of years. So, the unsettling question is, if there had been someone before us, would we even know? To settle into this thought, let us slow ourselves to the rhythm of the planet. Imagine lying on your back beneath the night sky. The stars are patient. They do not hurry. Time stretches differently here. Let your breath fall into that same slow rhythm. You and I are going to wander backward, step by step, across the great clock of Earth. We begin with what we know. The pyramids, the great monuments of stone in Egypt, are only about 4,500 years old. Stonehenge stands at about the same age. The oldest known written language, the clay tablets of Mesopotamia, are about 5,000 years old. If we push back to the very first settled villages, we arrive at around 10,000 to 12,000 years ago. That is as far as human history stretches in any coherent way. But 12,000 years is a blink in geological time. The last ice age ended just then. Before that, vast sheets of ice covered much of the northern hemisphere. And before the Ice Age, there were countless other ages, other climates, other arrangements of land and sea. Civilizations, if they had existed, would not just be forgotten. They would be erased by glaciers grinding continents flat, by seas rising and falling, by volcanoes swallowing entire landscapes. Pause here and imagine a city, any city you know. Think of its streets, its lights, its towers. Now, place it in your mind beneath 2 miles of ice for 10,000 years. Then thaw it, flood it, shake it with earthquakes, bury it with sand, and give the earth another 1,000,000 years to work. What would remain? Perhaps a trace of chemicals in the soil, a subtle layer in the rocks, a whisper of carbon isotopes, or an unusual deposit of metals. Not towers, not books, not names. The earth is vast, and it does not keep memory the way we do. To truly grasp this, we must stretch further back. Let's drift not 10,000 years, but 10,000,000. 10,000,000 years ago, there were no humans, no chimps even. Our ancestors were small creatures in forests, not builders of cities. 10,000,000 years ago, the Himalayas were still rising. The continents were in positions that seem familiar, but not the same. And yet 10,000,000 years, geologically speaking, is still recent. Go back 100,000,000 years. Dinosaurs walked the land. Mammals exist, but only in small, hidden forms. Forests bloom in different shapes. Flowers are new to the earth. The oceans are filled with creatures whose bones now make chalk cliffs. Imagine within that vast and strange world some civilization unknown to us, intelligent, but utterly alien, building in ways we would not even recognize. And then imagine them gone. Not vanished in a single day, but eroded slowly, relentlessly by time. Their machines rust to dust, their books rot, their bones crumble, their cities sink, their mountains fold. The ocean floor swallows their works. And by the time humanity rises, there is no sign they were ever there. This is not just fantasy. It is a serious scientific puzzle. The geologic record is patchy. Entire eras vanish into missing layers. What we see is like fragments of a mural, with most of the wall erased. To ask if others came before us is to admit how small our window of vision really is. And so the mystery deepens. If we are not the first, then what are we? Are we another chapter in a hidden book, destined to fade just as completely? One day, millions of years from now, will another species walk this planet, look down at the rocks, and wonder if they were the first? Breathe here. Let this thought settle. The universe is vast, but so too is the silence beneath our own feet. We look outward for answers, but tonight we are looking inward, into the layers of Earth's own memory. The past is not fixed. It is a shadow that stretches and shifts. And within that shadow, there may be ghosts we will never name. Close your eyes and imagine the earth not as it is today, but as a shifting canvas of deep time. Imagine mountains rising and falling like waves. Imagine oceans spilling across continents, then withdrawing like a slow tide. Imagine forests blooming, spreading, and vanishing in fire. Imagine deserts swallowing valleys and winds carrying grains of dust across entire worlds. This is the stage upon which any ancient civilization would have lived, a stage that never stays still for long. One of the humbling truths of geology is that the surface of the earth is not permanent. The crust itself drifts. Plates crash into one another and mountains rise. Plates pull apart and oceans are born. The surface of the earth is like a restless dream, forever erasing itself, forever rewriting. And in that rewriting, memories disappear. Fossils survive only by extraordinary luck. Even entire species vanish without leaving a trace. So how then would the works of a civilization survive? Think of our own world. We believe our cities to be strong, our monuments eternal. Yet in truth, they are fragile. Stone crumbles when wind and rain are patient enough. Steel rusts, concrete cracks, glass breaks, asphalt fades. Within a few thousand years of abandonment, a modern city would be reclaimed by nature. Forests would push through streets, rivers would carve new paths, and towers would collapse into dust. Within 1,000,000 years, almost nothing would remain. Scientists sometimes look for technosignatures, signs of technology that might survive in the rock record. These are not buildings or machines, but chemical fingerprints, unusual isotopes, concentrations of rare elements, layers of carbon that could hint at mass burning of fuel. Plastics, if they last, might leave behind unusual organic residues. But these clues would be subtle, hard to distinguish from natural processes. For every possible trace of industry, there is often a natural counterpart. Volcanic eruptions, asteroid impacts, and mass extinctions all leave chemical scars that resemble what we might expect from technology. So we arrive at a strange paradox. The only signs that might survive of a forgotten civilization are the ones we ourselves may be creating right now. Our layer in the rocks may be plastic, aluminum, nuclear isotopes, carbon dioxide. Millions of years from now, geologists, whether human or something else, might see this layer and wonder about us. They might ask, were they alone? Were they the first? And they would be asking the same question we ask tonight. There is a gentle humility in this thought. We want to believe we are unique, that history is ours alone, yet perhaps we are not. Perhaps we are one voice in a long chorus, most of which has already been silenced. Now, let your thoughts drift further back still. Think of the Permian period, 250 million years ago. The continents were joined into a single landmass called Pangaea. Deserts stretched across its center, while vast seas lapped at its edges. Life thrived, but it was different. Strange reptiles, giant insects, forests of peculiar trees. Then came the Great Dying, the largest mass extinction in Earth's history. More than 90% of species vanished. What caused it? Volcanic eruptions? Climate change? Methane release? Perhaps, but some have wondered only as a whisper of speculation. What if there had been something else? What if, before that extinction, a civilization had risen and fallen, its collapse lost within the catastrophe of nature? It is unlikely, perhaps, but the scale of time is so vast that we cannot know. The rocks keep their secrets. And then, there is the even deeper possibility that intelligence need not look like us at all. We picture civilizations as builders of cities, makers of tools, writers of language. But what if an earlier intelligence expressed itself differently? Perhaps through biology, shaping life directly rather than stone and steel. Perhaps through networks of communication invisible to us. If so, their traces would be even harder to find, woven into ecosystems long since gone. These are not claims, only possibilities. But they remind us that our imagination is narrow, shaped by what we know. We assume civilization must leave behind what we leave behind. Yet intelligence may find other paths, other ways of being. Consider also the ocean. We are land dwellers, and we search for traces where we walk. But most of Earth's history has been oceanic. The sea covers most of the planet, and beneath it lies the great archive of sediments, layers of history written in mud. If a civilization lived in the seas, would we even know? The ocean floor is constantly recycled, swallowed by trenches, remade by volcanic ridges. Ancient sea floors vanish into the mantle. Whatever they once held is carried down into fire. And so, the mystery deepens further. Not only could there have been civilizations erased from land, but also from the ocean, where memory is even more fragile. Now let your breath fall steady again, in and out. You are lying in the cradle of the Earth's imagination. These questions are not meant to frighten, but to slow you, to stretch your mind across a canvas larger than centuries. To remind you that the present moment is both precious and fleeting. Let us pause to consider what it means for us. If we are not the first, then perhaps we are not the last. Perhaps civilization is not a singular event, but a pattern, arising again and again when conditions allow. Perhaps intelligence is less rare than we fear, not only among the stars, but also here on this restless planet. And if civilizations can be forgotten, then what matters most may not be permanence, but presence. We live, we create, we wonder. That is our gift to the story of Earth, even if one day it too is erased. So, as we move forward in this slow meditation, carry this thought. The past is wider than we know, the present more fragile than we admit, and the future more open than we can imagine. And now, let us sink even deeper into time, past the familiar ages, into eras so distant they feel like dreams. Because to ask if we are the first is also to ask how small a slice of history we truly see. The Earth is not a stage set for us alone. It is an endless play, with acts and interludes we will never witness. The night is long, and time itself feels longer still. Let us drift farther into the shadows of Earth's memory, where history dissolves into geology and imagination becomes our lantern. To ask if there was a civilization before us is to step into an ocean without shores, guided only by faint ripples of possibility that picture the Triassic period, more than 200 million years ago. The Earth was recovering from the Great Dying, breathing again after its near-total loss of life. New creatures emerged, tentative and strange, testing forms that had never existed before. Among them were the ancestors of dinosaurs, small and agile, shadows of the giants to come. In this new world, ecosystems reset themselves, forests regrew, seas refilled with creatures bold enough to try again. And we ask, could intelligence have emerged here? Could some mind, some community, some pattern of thought have flickered briefly before vanishing? It is tempting to dismiss the idea, to insist that intelligence belongs only to us. But intelligence, like life itself, may be opportunistic. When niches open, possibilities unfold. Some say intelligence is inevitable wherever complexity thrives. Others say it is an accident, a rare gift unlikely to be repeated. The truth hides in silence, locked away in stone and sand. Imagine if such beings did exist. What would they have left behind? Perhaps they never built in stone, but lived lightly, woven into the fabric of forests, using materials that vanish quickly. Perhaps their communication was song, carried on the wind, never written, never recorded. If so, the only traces would be fossils, bones or shells, but even these are swallowed by time, crushed by mountains, scattered by rivers. The odds of us finding them would be vanishingly small, and yet the possibility lingers because the earth has room for countless forgotten stories. Each mountain we climb was once ocean floor. Each desert dune once lay beneath forests. The planet does not keep careful records. It recycles them endlessly. What survives is accidental, not complete. We know this because even the creatures we do know, the dinosaurs, the trilobites, the ammonites, represent only fragments. Entire lineages must have lived and died without leaving a trace. If whole families of species can vanish unseen, then what of civilizations? Now let us float into the Jurassic. Dinosaurs rose in number and diversity, filling forests and plains, while the seas teemed with giant reptiles. The climate was warm, the air thick, the forests lush with conifers and ferns. It was a world vibrant with life. If intelligence blossomed, here it would have been in forms utterly alien to us. Reptilian, perhaps, or aquatic, born of the ocean. We cannot know. But the thought itself expands our imagination. Intelligence is not limited to human shapes. It may wear any mask that life allows. Some scientists remind us that even if civilizations had existed, their chance of surviving in the geological record is near zero. Rocks are constantly broken, buried, remade. Within 10 million years, almost, any trace is erased. Within 100 million, the planet begins anew. The scale is almost incomprehensible. Our entire human history would fit into a geological blink. It is no wonder the past is so quiet. Take a breath with me, in and out. Let the air remind you of time's patience. It has no urgency. It does not hurry. It does not cling. The earth teaches us that permanence is an illusion. Even continents move like slow rivers dot, and so perhaps civilizations rose before us, and perhaps they will rise after us, each one thinking itself the first, each one vanishing into the folds of stone. Perhaps there is a cycle at work, hidden beneath the churn, of epics, Consider how we mark our own presence. We build towers, carve monuments, leave satellites drifting in orbit. But what if permanence is not found in stone or steel, but in something else? Maybe the true marks of civilization are not the structures they leave, but the questions they ask. Perhaps curiosity itself is the one enduring flame, passed invisibly through time, even if the hands that hold it change. Now let us return to the sea. For most of Earth's story, the oceans have been its heart. Vast and deep, they hold more mysteries than we have explored. We know only the surface, only the margins. What lies in the abyssal plains, in the trenches that cut miles below, remains almost unknown. Could civilizations have thrived there? Entire worlds of intelligence beneath the waves, whose works were swallowed when the seafloor was dragged into the mantle? It seems unlikely, and yet the ocean's secrecy makes it a fertile ground for imagination. Even on land, the possibility is staggering. The Earth is 4.5 billion years old. Complex life has existed for hundreds of millions. Our own species is less than 500,000 years old, and civilization itself only a few thousand. If intelligence arose once in hundreds of millions of years, why not twice? Why not more? Think of the forests of the Carboniferous, long before dinosaurs, when dragonflies as large as hawks filled the skies and swamps spread across continents. Oxygen was abundant. Life was lush. Could something then have walked quietly, leaving? No fossil, no trace? Or perhaps it swam, or flew, or lived in ways we cannot imagine. The question lingers like a whisper. What if we are only the latest in a long line of dreamers? Close your eyes again. Feel the earth beneath you. It has seen more than we can comprehend. Entire mountain ranges have risen and been worn away before our kind ever existed. Oceans have opened and closed. Continents have wandered like rafts across the mantle. In this endless reshaping, the idea that civilizations might have been lost is not far-fetched. It is simply unprovable, hidden in the folds of time. So we continue this meditation not to claim certainty, but to honor possibility. To remind ourselves that the story of Earth is larger than we can see. That humility is wisdom. That our place in the cosmos is not guaranteed, not eternal, not inevitable. We are one chapter, perhaps one of many. Breathe slowly. Let your thoughts settle like dust on stone. Imagine civilizations rising like sparks, glowing for a moment, then fading. Imagine each spark lighting the next, though none remembers the one before. And imagine even now that somewhere deep in the Earth's memory, faint embers of earlier minds still glow, waiting to be imagined into life again. The stars above us are silent witnesses. They look down on Earth with patient eyes, unchanged as continents drift and oceans open and close. When we wonder whether civilizations came before us, we are also asking what the stars have seen. What they have kept hidden in their long and tireless gaze. In our time, we measure history in years, perhaps in centuries. A building 1,000 years old feels ancient, untouchable, a relic of distant lives. Yet in the language of geology, 1,000 years is almost nothing. It is less than a page in a vast book, less than a breath in the life of a planet. Our greatest structures, the pyramids, the cathedrals, the skyscrapers of steel and glass, if left alone, how long would they endure? Some would fall within decades, reclaimed by weather and plant roots. Others might linger for a few thousand years, though battered and fractured. But given 1,000,000 years, nearly all of it would be gone. Given 10 million, nothing would remain. And so, when we look for traces of possible civilizations long ago, we must remember this scale. Time erases most things. Rock folds over rock. Rivers grind away valleys. Lava buries landscapes. Ice sheets scour continents clean. The planet is not a museum. It is an artist forever painting over its canvas. Even so, some traces may endure, though faintly. Geologists sometimes find thin layers in rock strata that tell of global changes, brief spikes of carbon, unusual isotopes, sudden extinctions. Such layers are like whispers from the past, subtle signs that something unusual happened. If another civilization had once risen, its greatest mark might not be buildings or tools, but chemistry. A shift in atmosphere, a strange residue in sediments, a brief but global disturbance. The fingerprints of an industrial age, even millions of years gone, might survive in this quiet, coded way. This brings us to the thought of the Anthropocene, the age we are now writing. Some scientists say humanity has already left a geological signal that will endure for millions of years. Plastics buried in sediments, radioactive isotopes from nuclear testing, unusual spikes in greenhouse gases. To us, these are everyday artifacts. To future beings, they may be strange and alien signatures, hints that something once moved across this planet with great intensity, then vanished. And if this is true for us, could it not also have been true for another forgotten age? Perhaps a species rose and fell long before the dinosaurs, leaving chemical echoes now invisible to the casual eye. The silence of the fossil record does not disprove it. Fossilization is rare. For every creature that lived, only a tiny fraction left fossils, and even fewer survived long enough to be found. Entire forests, entire lineages, have disappeared without leaving a trace. If life itself is so easily lost, how much more fragile would be the artifacts of civilization? Pause here. Breathe in and imagine deep time flowing around you like a river. Imagine yourself standing not in human history, but in Earth's history. In that perspective, civilizations become sparks in the dark, rising and fading, their traces swept away as the river flows on. Consider, too, the possibility that earlier civilizations may not have resembled us at all. They may not have built cities or carved monuments. Their intelligence may have been expressed differently through symbiosis, perhaps, or biological manipulation, or patterns of collective behavior that left no enduring objects. Imagine a civilization of beings who lived in harmony with their world, leaving no scars behind, no minds, no ruins, only balance. To us, they would be invisible. To them, we might seem reckless, carving deep wounds into the earth to mark our presence. Which of us would truly be advanced? And what of time's great teachers, the mass extinctions? 5 great ones we know, each a resetting of the planet's stage. After each, life began again, new forms rising from old ashes. Could civilizations have emerged during one of these intervals, only to be erased by the next catastrophe? A meteor, a volcano, a shift in climate, and all traces are gone. We may be the survivors, not of one civilization, but of many. Though we know nothing of those who came before, that it is humbling to think that we may not be the beginning, but only the latest chapter. It shifts our perspective from pride to curiosity, from certainty to wonder. And in that wonder, perhaps, lies the real treasure, not the answer, but the question itself. Now, close your eyes if they are not already closed. Hear the silence around you. Let it expand until you feel as though you are floating in time itself. Each moment you breathe, billions of years pass beneath your feet. Civilizations may rise, may fall, may vanish without leaving a whisper. And still the earth turns, the stars shine, the rivers flow. When you wake tomorrow, the question may remain unanswered. But tonight, as you drift toward sleep, let it guide your dreams. For even if no civilization ever came before us, the very act of wondering connects us to something vast, something eternal, the curiosity that lights the dark, that keeps us searching, that makes us human. And so we rest in that curiosity, not demanding an answer, only savoring the mystery. The earth is old, older than memory, older than story. In its silence, there may have been others, or perhaps we are the first. Either way, the night is deep and the stars are waiting. Imagine walking across a desert at night. The sand beneath your feet is cool, the stars above endless, and the horizon stretches farther than your eyes can see. Beneath that sand, layer upon layer of stone lies hidden, each layer a memory of the earth, each one a page written long before we arrived. As you walk, you are walking not only across space, but across time. Every grain beneath you has traveled, has been shaped by rivers and winds, has lived 1,000 lives before finding its way here. This is what it means to think in geological terms. The past is not gone. It is transformed. Forests become coal. Seashells become limestone. Mountains become dust, only to rise again as new peaks. In this endless cycle, what would become of us? If we were to vanish tomorrow, how long would our traces last? Would our towers and bridges endure as ruins for some future beings to find? Or would they too be ground back into sand, lost beneath rivers and ice? Some scientists call this the problem of the signal versus noise. The signal is the trace, left behind a shard of pottery, a buried city, a chemical signature in stone. The noise is everything else: erosion, subduction, weathering, the countless processes that erase and overwrite the past. Over millions of years, noise always wins. That is why the fossil record is incomplete. why entire species remain mysteries, why whole forests that once shaded the earth are now nothing but coal seams. And yet we humans search. We dig, we question, we wonder, because even the faintest signal, once found, can change everything. A single fossilized feather revealed that dinosaurs had plumage. A single chemical layer revealed the impact that ended their reign. What if? Someday, a strange signal points not to nature, but to something intentional, something shaped by intelligence long ago. Breathe slowly. Let this possibility sink into you like water into soil. The earth has been home to countless experiments. In life, trilobites, ammonites, giant ferns, towering reptiles, mammoths, and finally, us. Why assume that intelligence, in all that time, bloomed only once? The silence may not be proof of absence, only proof of the earth's ability to forget. Consider this. If an advanced civilization rose 200 million years ago, before the age of dinosaurs, what would remain? Cities would crumble in thousands of years. Technology would decay in tens of thousands. Even bones might not last. After millions of years, all would be gone, except, perhaps, for subtle clues, unusual isotopes, strange concentrations of metals. Unusual isotopes, strange concentrations of metals, or patterns in sediment that do not fit with natural cycles. These whispers of the past would not look like monuments or machines. They would be quieter, almost invisible to the casual eye, waiting for a careful observer to notice them. Imagine a geologist, millions of years from now, picking up a core sample from deep beneath the surface. In it, they find an unexpected trace anomalies in carbon or elements that should not be so concentrated. To them, it might raise the same questions we are asking tonight. Did someone come before us? This question is sometimes called the Silurian hypothesis, named half-jokingly after a fictional species from old science fiction. But the scientists who framed it were not joking. They asked seriously, if an industrial civilization had existed on Earth tens of millions of years ago, could we detect it today? The answer is not clear, and that uncertainty is itself fascinating. Think of the fossil record again. It preserves bones, shells, and imprints, but only rarely. Even whole species, once dominant across continents, are known only from a few scattered. Fossils. If something as enduring as bone can vanish almost completely, what chance does a skyscraper have? What chance does a book, a road, a song? And yet, the earth does keep secrets. Traces of atmospheric change linger in ice cores and rocks. Ancient warming events, ancient extinctions, ancient pulses of carbon, all are written into the chemistry of the planet. If another civilization had burned fuel, reshaped landscapes, or altered the climate, perhaps their fingerprints could remain in this chemical diary. Close your eyes for a moment and picture this. An ancient world, green with forests and alive, with creatures unfamiliar to us. In that world, perhaps, rose a people not human, not even mammalian, but intelligent in their own way. Maybe they built societies along coastlines, trading across shallow seas. Maybe they learned to harness fire, to shape metals, to record their thoughts. For 1,000,000 years they thrived. And then something happened. A change in climate, a cosmic impact, or a slow decline. Whatever the cause, they faded. The forests grew back. The oceans erased their ports. The mountains ground their cities to dust, and the earth moved on. By the time dinosaurs walked the land, no trace remained that we would recognize as theirs. It may sound fanciful, but remember, intelligence is not guaranteed to take the same form twice. It is not bound to look like us. An ancient civilization might not have built pyramids or satellites. They might have expressed intelligence in ways we would struggle to see in biology, in communication through sound or color, in structures, woven from living organisms rather than stone. This is where the thought becomes even more dreamlike. If a civilization rose, lived, and vanished millions of years ago, its story would not be written in monuments. It would be written in whispers, in chemical anomalies, in unusual fossils, in traces of patterns that seem too ordered to be random. And so the scientists who ponder this idea ask, could we train ourselves to listen for those whispers? Could we look at the rocks not only as natural formations, but also as potential archives of forgotten lives? Pause here. Let your breathing slow. Feel the weight of time stretching in both directions, the past and the future. Our own civilization is young, fragile, and still learning. The earth has seen ages rise and fall, seas come and go, mountains rise and erode. Against such a backdrop, the idea of being the very first, the only civilization, seems almost arrogant. Perhaps we are first, but perhaps we are not. Now imagine this. Millions of years from now, if humans are gone, what would be left of us? Cities would vanish. Languages would be lost. Perhaps the only trace would be a thin chemical layer plastics, unusual isotopes, the signs of our industry. A future intelligence might one day find that layer and ask the same question we ask. Now, who came before us? Picture again that future geologist, millions of years from now, looking at a core of stone. They turn it in their hands, brush the dust from its surface, and see a thin band that looks just a little different from the rest. Within it are strange molecules, plastics hardened into rock, traces of combustion, tiny fragments of things that no natural process should have left behind. To them, it is a mystery. To us, it would be the final echo of our existence. This thought naturally circles back to our question. If we might someday be reduced to a single mysterious layer, why assume we are the only ones? Perhaps deep beneath our feet, in strata we rarely examine, lies another layer fainter still, older still, bearing the silent evidence of a civilization long gone. The earth is a recycler. Continents slide, oceans rise and fall, climates change, and all that stands upon the surface is eventually swept away. Stone is melted and remade, oceans swallow valleys, mountains wear down the sand. Against such forces, nothing seems permanent. Yet some things do linger: chemical traces, fossilized remains, subtle patterns written into rock. These, if recognized, could be the fingerprints of a past intelligence. Now let your imagination soften around this idea. Suppose that 300 million years ago, when lush forests covered vast swamps and giant dragonflies ruled the skies, an intelligent species emerged. They may have looked nothing like us, perhaps reptilian, perhaps something even stranger, but they thought, they built, they wondered. Their tools might not have been steel and glass. Perhaps they worked with stone and resin, with living plants, with materials that decayed swiftly once they were gone. For a while they thrived, and then, in a blink of geological time, they were no more. The forests closed over their traces. Sediments buried what little remained. And when ages passed, when new life rose, nothing visible remained. Only the planet remembered, and even then, only faintly. In whispers too quiet for most to hear. It is humbling to think that we might walk daily across ground that holds such secrets. When we stroll through a park, hike in a canyon, or rest on a beach, we rest on pages of history written in stone. Each layer beneath us could hide stories far older than humanity. We see them as natural, but perhaps they are also cultural legacies of forgotten beings who asked questions much like our own. Close your eyes and picture those questions. Did they wonder about the stars? Did they build myths to explain thunder and the turning of the seasons? Did they gaze at the sea and wonder what lay beyond the horizon? These questions feel universal, born of curiosity itself. If intelligence existed before, surely it too was filled with a longing to understand. Science is cautious here. Without evidence, such musings remain speculation. But speculation can be valuable. It stretches the imagination, opens new ways of seeing, invites us to look more carefully at the rocks and records we do have. It reminds us that our perspective is narrow, bound by the short time humans have walked the earth. Breathe slowly. Let this wideness of time settle into your body. Imagine that our civilization, vast as it feels to us, is only a moment a candle flickering in a night billions of years long. Before us, there may have been other candles, other brief lights, that flared and went dark. After us, perhaps more will come. And so, lying here tonight, listening to this flow of thought, you are connected to that great unfolding story. The mystery is not only in the past, it is in the present moment too. The mystery is in being here at all, able to wonder, able to imagine. When we talk about civilizations, we often imagine permanence. We look at the pyramids and think they have stood forever. We see the Great Wall and think it will last forever. Yet even these monuments, in the scale of deep time, are fragile. Wind and rain already wear them down. Earthquakes shift their foundations, and shifting sands slowly reclaim their edges. Given enough centuries, even the greatest works of our species would blur into the landscape. Multiply those centuries into millions of years, and permanence dissolves into illusion. What remains, then, is not stone but story. the earth tells. Its story in layers, in whispers of carbon, in subtle marks of extinction and renewal. If another civilization once rose before us, their story would not be written in architecture but in chemistry, not in monuments but in memory locked within rocks. To read such a story requires patience, imagination, and the humility to accept that we may never know for sure. Allow your breathing to become even more relaxed and gentle as you continue to contemplate this. The unexplored unknown can often appear quite unsettling at times. However, it can also gift you with much-needed peaceful comfort. There's a genuine sense of freedom found in wholeheartedly embracing the enchanting mystery of life, and also finding great solace in knowing that there may be some valuable answers that lie beyond our present capacity to fully comprehend and grasp them. Think of how small our own footprint already is. Human civilization, in its recognizable form, is only about 10,000 years old. Agriculture, cities, writing, trade, all of these emerged within this brief window. 10,000 years, compared to the Earth's 4.5 billion, is almost nothing. And yet, even in that short time, we have reshaped landscapes, shifted rivers, altered the atmosphere. If we can leave such a mark so quickly, is it so unthinkable that another species might have done the same in the far distant past? Consider the expansive deep ocean, such an immense, unfamiliar, and enigmatic realm. Most of its bottom area remains unexplored and virtually uncharted by the human senses, let alone through detailed exploration. The floor of the ocean bed is rich with ancient sediment layers, deeply embedded deep within the Earth's crust and possessing heavy loads of the eon's weight of time. Your curiosity is piqued right now. Do you wonder if there could possibly be hidden signals lying buried within those sediment layers? Subtle traces of an existence that may have once walked the very Earth's surface? It is not likely that these hidden signals will be captured by machines or bones. Rather, intriguing chemical footprints that could potentially be the remnants of an existing existence of unprecedented kind. Metallic elements unusual enough, fascinating, synthetic-like molecules, or even miniature, meticulously hidden clues, waiting patiently in the shadow of darkness. This is the magical space where the imagination truly expands. Picture a civilization that didn't build outward, growing and expanding like we do, but instead built it inward. Perhaps they constructed vast underground habitats, weaving intricate, subterranean societies beneath the Earth's surface. Such a fascinating choice would provide them with complete protection from the harshest ravages of weather. But in the inception of time, those underground worlds too would certainly collapse, flood, or be lost to shifting tectonic plates. The Earth is a resilient force. It can reshape ruthlessly in its immense power. Thus, on an endless loop, we always return to the same question. Could we even tell? The sobering truth is that we may not. The record of the Earth is partial, broken, scattered. In that silence lies a paradox. If we find no traces, it does not prove there were none. It proves only that time is a patient eraser. Allow this thought to gently lull you, rather than causing any troubles. The quiet vastness of deep time embraces you, like a gentle sea holding a slowly drifting boat. You do not need to seek to solve the complex mystery of nighttime. All you need to do is let it gently carry and guide you, slow and in calm rhythm, as you navigate across the serene waters of your own imagination. Consider this. Picture yourself now, lying still, attentively listening to this uninterrupted flow of words. You are a unique point in the immense uncharted territory of time. Behind you stretches an almost unimaginable past. Clearly before you lies an equally mysterious, unexplored future. You are present right now, in this thin, fleeting moment of awareness, feeling connected to all that has occurred in the past and everything that lies ahead of you. In this unique state of awareness, a certain sense of peace emerges. We are not in need of absolute certainty to experience awe-inspiring wonder. The mere possibility itself contains enough, if not more, meaning. Perhaps we are merely the beginning. Perhaps we are already living in an unimaginable future. Regardless, both possibilities belong to this grand narrative unraveling across billions of years, with the quiet persistence of life serving as its timeless guide. To envision forgotten civilizations, we must also ponder upon forgotten methods of existence. We recognize not every intellect required to construct elaborate towers or compose comprehensive books. Perhaps there were some indigenous past civilizations that discovered living in harmony rather than participating in the often destructive conquest, skillfully blending their distinctive lives so seamlessly with nature that their distinct traces almost disappeared immediately after they ceased to exist. From our contemporary viewpoint, it might appear as though they had essentially vanished. However, for those indigenous communities, it might have symbolized everything they held dear and what sustained them through their long and difficult journey. Therefore, it would be essential for us to envision these once great civilizations in their own context, not only in terms of their monumental structures and books, but also the broader vision of their existence, their ways of life, and their cultural identity. For just a fleeting moment, close your eyes and visualize an incredibly vast and expansive world, seamless forests, covering an immense expanse of terrain, effortlessly blend from one horizon to the next, gracefully meandering throughout the picturesque landscape. Riverbanks, adorned with swaying majestic trees, provide a convenient and safe navigation route as they gently carve their way through deeply entwined yet charming valleys. In this awe-inspiring and serene world, a harmonious and well-organized residence community thrives, living in unison and seamlessly integrated within the vast expanse of its untamed and untouched wilderness. Asterisk, they did not cut the trees but spoke. To them, they did not forge steel but shaped what the land already offered. They may have developed arts we cannot name, sciences that do not resemble our own. Asterisk, their wisdom may have flowed through song, light, or scent mediums that left no record behind. When their time ended, the forest grew over their memory, and all that remained was life itself. Such imaginings remind us how narrow our own perspective is. We search for ourselves in the past, our tools, our buildings, our kind of intelligence. But perhaps we would not even recognize another kind. Perhaps we are only able to see what resembles us. What else might lie hidden in plain sight, overlooked, because it does not fit our expectations? The earth's silence becomes more profound in this light. Silence does not mean emptiness. A forest may appear silent until you learn to listen to the insects, the rustle of leaves, the faint calls of birds. In the same way, the planet's silence may be filled with faint signals we do not yet know how to hear. Think now of fossils. The creatures we know from them, the great dinosaurs, the ancient fishes, the tiny trilobites, are only a fraction of what once lived. Most species left no trace at all. The record we study is not complete. It is a fragile fragment, a thin sketch of an unimaginably rich story. If so much of life itself is lost, how much easier would it be for a culture, however advanced, to vanish without a trace? And yet, even in imagining this loss, there is a strange comfort. It reminds us of the humility we must carry. We are not masters of time. We are not its first experiment. We may simply be part of a much longer sequence, one chapter in a book, with many missing pages. That thought, far from frightening, can feel soothing, like resting within something far greater than ourselves. Take a slow breath now. Imagine the planet itself breathing with you. Inhale the rising of mountains. Exhale the erosion of valleys. Inhale forests growing. Exhale oceans reclaiming land. Across millions of years, the earth itself feels alive, always in motion, always reshaping. Within that motion, civilizations may bloom and fade like flowers in a field, brief but beautiful, forgotten but meaningful. If you allow yourself to drift with this thought, it begins to soften your sense of urgency. We strive, we build, we worry about permanence. But permanence is not the measure of value. Even if everything we know one day dissolves, the wonder we feel now, the connections we share, are real. They are part of the living moment, and that is enough. Perhaps this is what ancient civilizations, if they existed, understood more deeply than we do. Perhaps they accepted impermanence, not as loss, but as truth. They may have lived not for monuments, but for presence. And when they were gone, the earth folded their presence back into itself, leaving no scars, only whispers. Let this possibility cradle you now. Whether or not anyone came before us, the idea itself opens space inside you, a quiet place where you can rest. You are not alone in time. You are accompanied by billions of years of becoming, by countless forms of life, by mysteries too large to grasp. To drift into sleep while holding this awareness is to join that flow, to let yourself dissolve gently into the great story. Picture yourself standing in a vast desert at dusk. The sand beneath your feet is cool and refreshing, as well as the horizon being dramatically illuminated with the fading sunlight, creating an awe-inspiring display. Among the dazzling stars, one by one, they begin to emerge with incredible clarity. At first glance, the desert may appear empty, but as you delve deeper, you can notice numerous captivating tailies hidden beneath the surface. The individual grains of sand appear to be massive, rugged mountains that once hosted seafloor communities, and the ancient seafloor served as shelter for truly fascinating creatures that once roamed the earth and breathed life in this vast area. Each handful of earth holds a hidden library, written beautifully in a language of stone. Perhaps within these libraries, there exist chapters that have not yet been learned to be read by any of us. The mesmerizing desert at twilight introduces us to a whole new world, where endless stories await to be unveiled. Upon encountering your gaze, the seemingly barren desert presents itself as an emptiness. But on closer inspection beneath the surface, various tailies are silently awaiting to be unveiled. Every single shimmering grain of sand contains an intriguing story, awaiting the opportunity to be retold. It is possible that numerous hidden secrets remain to be uncovered within the dust-coated pages of these long-forgotten ancient libraries. The magnificent sand dunes during the approach of twilight heighten the allure, providing a mesmerizing environment where mysteries continue to be unraveled in the deepest recesses of the imagination. When scientists drill into ancient layers, they sometimes find anomalies, spikes of carbon, sudden disappearances of species, odd shifts in chemistry. Most of these can be explained by natural processes, volcanic eruptions, asteroid impacts, gradual climate change. Yet some anomalies still puzzle researchers, raising questions that stretch beyond certainty. Could one of these strange signals be the ghost of a civilization, erased by time yet faintly echoing in the rocks? The thought is not so far-fetched when you remember how short-lived human culture has been so far. If our cities were left untended, within a few centuries they would crumble. Forests would reclaim concrete. Metal would corrode. Glass would shatter. In 10,000 years, very little of our world would remain. In 1,000,000, almost nothing. Beyond that, only the faintest chemical clues plastics hardened into stone. Radioactive isotopes locked in minerals would whisper that we ever existed. So why not before? Why not some other cycle of intelligence that rose, flourished, and faded, leaving only faint markers now lost in deep time? Perhaps they burned fuels that left subtle carbon traces. Perhaps they shaped materials that we now interpret as natural minerals. Perhaps their presence is hidden in the fossil record not as bones, but as absences, species that vanished suddenly, ecosystems that shifted without clear reason. The deeper you sink into this idea, the more the boundary between history and imagination begins to blur. It does not matter whether the answer is yes or no. What matters is the wonder it invites. The earth is vast enough, old enough, mysterious enough to hold secrets beyond anything we can grasp. To contemplate those secrets is to place ourselves in perspective, to see how brief we are, and yet how lucky we are to be here at all. Let yourself feel that luck now. You are alive in this fleeting moment, listening, breathing, thinking. Out of all the billions of years, all the unknowns and forgotten stories, you exist here now. That is its own kind of miracle. Breathe slowly, as though matching the rhythm of deep time. Imagine the earth inhaling with you, oceans swelling, winds moving, forests rising. Imagine it exhaling, mountains wearing down, rivers flowing, valleys deepening. With each breath, the planet changes. With each breath, you are connected to it. And if civilizations before us once breathed the same air, once gazed at the same stars, then in some way, we are still sharing this world with them. Their bodies may be gone, their works erased, but the atoms remain. We inhale them, we walk on them, we carry them forward unknowingly. Nothing is truly lost. It only changes form. This thought can soothe you into rest. You are not separate from history. You are part of its endless unfolding. Whether or not others came before, you are a continuation of the same story. Life rising, wondering, and fading. And in your own quiet way, simply by being, you add another verse to that story, Dot, so as you close your eyes and let sleep approach, picture yourself drifting down into those layers of time, past the cities, past the rivers, past the forests and oceans, down into stone where memories lie quiet. You are safe there, held by the planet, wrapped in the silence of ages. The question remains unanswered, but it does not need an answer. The mystery is enough. Picture yourself gracefully drifting on a serene and calm sea, beneath a sky tightly filled with an abundance of shining stars. The vast, deep blue waters of the sea carry you effortlessly, with each gentle ripple gently reflecting your surroundings, and each beautifully carved wave being a thought-provoking reminder of a time gone by. Beneath the seemingly endless expanse of the deep blue sea lies a fascinating, layered ocean floor, teeming with the remains of countless cherished lives that once livened there, along with stories from an era that once was. In a place where anything is possible, this amazing underwater world brims with beauty. Around the surface of the calm sea, layered with these fascinating remains of the past, can be found. There are also stories from another era that seems so far away. It is an experience that will leave you breathless and in awe as you glide through the endless expanse of the ocean, discovering hidden treasures lying in the layers of sediment, waiting to be rediscovered, Dot, as you immerse yourself in the serene and peaceful waters beneath a dazzlingly lit celestial sky. The hypnotic surface of the ocean transforms fluidly into a dynamic and ever-evolving mural, which adapts effortlessly to every syncopated rhythm of the tide that flows through it. Each delicate touch of the ripple gently mirrors the radiant backdrop that surrounds you, while every gracefully sculpted wave narrates an alluring anecdote from an era long gone, igniting emotions of wonder and longing for a simpler era of history. Underneath this mesmerizing underwater realm, hidden beneath the perpetually expanding watery surface, lies a tantalizing discovery of an extraordinary world brimming with rare relics of history, which have long been left behind in the depths of time as they wend their way through the shadows, surrounded by an overwhelming sense of tranquility, yet deeply imbued with a mysterious allure that transports you seamlessly into an otherworldly landscape. You float effortlessly through the enchanting experience, relishing and taking in every single facet of the ocean's boundless wonders, as the ever-trending sky above serves as the ever-changing canvas upon which you carefully create your one-of-a-kind, personalized masterpiece. Combining an evocative blend of natural beauty and artistry, this unique experience fuses the unparalleled splendor of the underwater world with the whimsical storytelling power of a celestial canvas. This spectacular, immersive journey under the vast expanse of the open sea presents an unforgettable testament to the remarkable power of nature, where time itself seems to be on its own eternal watch, as the sky above continuously transforms, leaving its mark on infinite layers of timeless memories beneath a cosmic tapestry that serves as the perfect backdrop for the eternal story of life and everlasting change. Civilizations may have once existed on this planet long before us, but evidence of such ancient existence reigns buried beneath the surface of the sea, pressed into layers of sediment and waiting to be uncovered and examined by future explorers, who may yet uncover the secrets and stories that lie hidden there. But waiting is not the same as revealing. The earth is not a museum. It is an artist forever repainting its canvas. Old layers are folded, broken, melted into new forms. What survives does so by chance, not design. And so the record of life is patchy, full of gaps, like a story told, with missing pages. Perhaps those missing pages hold nothing, or perhaps they hold everything. There is a kind of peace in not knowing. The human mind craves answers, but answers are not always necessary for meaning. The act of wondering, of letting your thoughts drift into possibilities, is itself valuable. Just as the sea cradles you, the question cradles your imagination. It asks nothing of you but openness. Breathe gently now, and imagine yourself descending slowly into those layers of the sea. The deeper you go, the quieter it becomes. Sunlight fades, colors vanish, and the world becomes blue and black then. Silence. On the seafloor, strange creatures live where no light reaches. Some glow softly, carrying their own stars within their bodies. Others drift slowly, ancient and unchanged for millions of years. These beings remind us that survival takes many forms. Intelligence may not always mean skyscrapers or machines. It may mean patience, adaptation, harmony. Perhaps the greatest civilizations of the past were not conquerors but caretakers, species who found ways to exist without leaving scars. To us, they would look invisible, but to themselves, they may have felt complete. This is the quiet lesson of deep time. Not all value is measured in permanence. The earth does not preserve everything, yet what it loses is not meaningless. Like waves washing a shoreline, it erases and renews, again and again. If others came before us, their memory may be gone, but their presence shaped the flow of life, guiding it forward until, eventually, it reached us. And now here we are, dreaming of them, keeping their possibility alive in our minds. In a way, that is its own kind of remembrance. Even without proof, we carry them as companions in thought. They exist in the stories we tell, in the questions we ask, in the wonder that lulls us to rest not. So let yourself rest now. Imagine the sea rocking you gently, the stars overhead keeping watch, and beneath you, layer upon layer of history holding you steady. You are part of this vast story, not apart from it. You are connected to everything that was, everything that is, and everything that may come after. Imagine walking across an open plain at dawn. The air is cool, carrying the faint scent of grasses and soil. The horizon glows softly, and the world feels vast and unhurried. Beneath your feet lies stone that has existed for hundreds of millions of years. Each step lands on time itself, compressed into layers too deep to count. Somewhere in those layers, there may once have been a trace of intelligence, an echo of beings who looked at the sunrise, just as you do now, and felt something stir within them. But unlike us, they left little behind. The earth is relentless in its forgetting. What is built is broken. What is broken is buried. What is buried is transformed. Even mountains are temporary. They rise, they crumble, they disappear. How much easier, then, for the works of a brief civilization to vanish completely? To wonder about this is not to chase ghosts. It is to recognize the scale of time, and how small even our greatest efforts may seem against it. Yet there is beauty in that smallness. Think of a flower blooming for only a single day. Its petals open, it catches the light, it shares its fragrance, and by nightfall it is gone. Do we say it was meaningless because it did not last? No, its brief existence is enough. Perhaps civilizations, too, are like flowers, blooming and fading, each adding a moment of beauty to the larger cycle of life. Take a breath now, deep and slow. Let yourself feel that you are part of this same cycle. You, too, are here for a moment, blooming in your own way. Whether or not someone came before, whether or not someone comes after, your presence now is real. And in its own quiet way, it matters not as the sun rises higher in your imagination. Picture the plains stretching endlessly around you. Rivers wind across it, carving paths that will one day shift. Trees take root, only to fall and return to soil. Animals pass by, leaving faint trails that wind will soon erase. Everything here is temporary, yet everything belongs. This is the lesson the earth whispers through its silence. Nothing lasts, but nothing is wasted. And so we return to the question, what if we are not the first? The answer may never be known, but the act of asking changes us. It softens our grip on certainty. It widens our sense of time. It humbles us in the face of mystery. Perhaps the real gift of the question is not an answer, but the space it opens within us, the space to rest, to dream, to imagine. Close your eyes and feel that space within you now. Imagine it as a vast plain inside your mind, open and quiet. The horizon stretches endlessly. The air is calm. You are safe here, carried not by answers, but by wonder. In this space, sleep can come gently, like a soft mist rising across the land. Imagine standing at the edge of a canyon. The walls descend in layers, Each band of stone a different shade, a different chapter in the earth's history. To most eyes, these are simply rock silent, unmoving. But to a mind willing to listen, they are a chronicle. The deep red layers were once deserts, where winds sculpted dunes that hardened into stone. The gray bands were once oceans, where shells fell and accumulated until they were pressed into limestone. The darker seams may hold traces of forests that burned, or rivers that flooded, or species that thrived and vanished. Each stratum is a page, each color a memory, each silence a reminder that time moves whether we are watching or not. If civilizations existed before us, perhaps their stories are hidden here too, folded into the walls of this canyon. But the earth does not keep a diary in words. It keeps one in patterns, in chemistry, in scars. We must learn to read it not as we read a book, but as we trace a dream, knowing much is missing, knowing much has been rewritten. And yet, even the absence of evidence can be its own kind of story. A missing chapter tells us something, that the earth has erased, reformed, and remade itself countless times, smoothing away what once seemed indestructible. Consider how brief our own chapter has been. The oldest cities on this planet are only a few thousand years old. The earliest writing, barely more than symbols pressed into clay, belongs to a moment that is yesterday compared to the age of mountains. If our entire history fits into the final sliver of a clock, then how many other slivers lie hidden before us? How many cycles of rising and fading have already come and gone? Perhaps civilizations came not once, but many times, each rising like a tide, each eventually pulled back into the sea of forgetting. Let this canyon become an image in your mind. See the strata descending below your feet. See the river at the bottom, carving still, deepening the wound of time. Now imagine that you step closer, place your hand on the rock, and close your eyes. You are touching millions of years at once. You are pressing your palm against the memory of the planet. And for a moment, it feels as though something presses back, as though the stone itself is alive, remembering. Take a slow breath and let the thoughts settle. We do not need proof to feel connection. The possibility of others before us is enough to widen our sense of belonging. They do not need names or artifacts. They exist in the very idea that the universe may not be finished exploring what intelligence means. And if that is true, then perhaps intelligence itself is not rare at all. Perhaps it is a wave that rises again and again, across worlds, across ages. Each time it crests, it looks different. Sometimes it may build machines. Sometimes it may shape art. Sometimes it may simply live quietly in balance with its world. And then, just as naturally, it fades, dissolving back into the sea of time. Making space for the next dot, you are part of that wave now. Humanity is part of it. For this brief stretch of years, we rise, we wonder, we create, and one day we too will fade. That truth can feel heavy if we resist it, but if we accept it, it becomes light. Like knowing that a song will end, and so listening more deeply while it plays. Close your eyes. if you haven't already, and imagine that song now. It is long and slow, with notes that span centuries. Some verses are bright, full of life. Others are quiet, almost silence. In the pauses, civilizations bloom and vanish. In the melody, the planet turns, the stars wheel above, and life continues. You are listening to that song simply by being alive, simply by breathing. Let yourself breathe with it now. Inhale with the rise of the melody. Exhale with the fall. Feel the rhythm of time moving through you, steady and eternal. This is what it means to belong to a world older than imagination. This is what it means to rest in wonder. Now imagine drifting away from the canyon. The walls dissolve, the stone fades, and you find yourself floating above the earth. From here, you can see the whole planet at once. Oceans swirling, continents drifting, clouds spreading like silver threads. You are high enough that history blurs, high enough that civilizations appear like sparks in the dark. A light here, a light there, each flickering briefly before disappearing. Perhaps long ago, other sparks glowed just the same. And perhaps long from now, new sparks will glow. Again, the earth will continue to turn, carrying each in turn, carrying all into silence, and then into renewal. Nothing is lost. Everything is transformed. As you float here, picture yourself slowly turning. On one side of the earth, it is night. Cities glitter faintly, as though the stars themselves have fallen to the surface. On the other side, the sun burns, washing continents in gold. But remember, this pattern is recent. For most of Earth's life, there were no cities, no roads, no lights at night. For most of its history, the Earth was wilderness, quiet except for the voices of wind, water, and life. If another civilization had risen millions of years ago, what would their lights have looked like from this view? Would they have spread in patterns across continents? Or would they have been subtle, not cities at all, but something we would not even recognize as civilization? Imagine beings who lived not by building towers, but by weaving with forests, shaping rivers, guiding climates. Their lights might not have glowed as ours do, but their presence could still have been vast. Their intelligence written not in steel, but in symbiosis. And then imagine their disappearance. The forests they shaped returned to wild growth. The rivers they guided shifted again. The balance they held dissolved back into chance. Millions of years later, when humans arrived, nothing remained of them but a planet that was already shaped, already practiced in cycles of rise and fall. The thought is humbling. It reminds us that civilization is not a permanent gift, but a fleeting experiment. We are not the first experiment the earth has hosted, and we will not be the last. We are a note in the larger song, and the song continues with or without us. As you float above the planet, imagine time itself flowing beneath you, like rivers of light. You see continents drifting slowly, colliding, pulling apart. You see ice sheets advancing, retreating. You see forests spreading, deserts forming, mountains rising and crumbling. Every moment is movement. Every age is transition. Civilization is only one of those movements, a brief flash in the current dot. And yet, even in its brevity, it matters. Just as the whisper of a violin in a symphony matters, even if it lasts only a few measures. We matter because we are here now, because we are awake to the mystery, because we can ask these questions and let them expand in the mind like stars. Let yourself drift closer to the planet again. The canyon returns beneath your feet. The stone is cool, steady, unmoving. And yet, you know now that it is not unmoving at all. It is alive with the memory of change, alive with the silence of vanished ages. Each rock you touch has been sky, has been sea, has been fire. Each carries the story of transformation so deep that they make our own seem like moments in a dream. Pause here. Feel the quiet. Notice how the thought of being not the first no longer feels frightening. Instead, it feels like being part of a family older than time, a lineage of curiosity and creation that stretches into the past as far as it stretches into the future. You are not alone on this path. Others have walked it in ways we cannot yet see, and others will walk it again. The canyon holds its silence. The earth continues to turn. And you, for now, continue to breathe, resting in the knowledge that everything belongs. Everything is part of the song. The canyon holds its silence, and you remain at its edge, looking down into the river of time. It feels endless, this descent of stone and memory. Yet even as you stand there, you sense that the canyon is only a doorway. Beyond its walls lies the deeper labyrinth of Earth's hidden past, a library without shelves, a song without beginning. Imagine stepping down into the canyon itself. Each step takes you not only lower in space, but farther in time. The first ledge is thousands of years ago, where rivers carved paths through soft soil. The next ledge, deeper still, belongs to a world of ice, when glaciers pressed against stone like a sculptor's hand. Another ledge leads into millions of years, when strange mammals roamed, ancestors to none we know today. And farther, farther still, until you reach the layers that formed when the continents themselves were young, when the world was a shape, unrecognizable to modern maps. You are walking into time as if it were a spiral staircase, and each turn brings you to a world both familiar and alien. The air grows thicker with memory. The silence deepens until even your breath feels like an N. Echo of something older. Now, pause here. Rest your hand against the wall of stone. Imagine what it has seen. Long before pyramids, long before fire, long before the first creatures crawled onto land, this stone was forming. And what if, at some point along that long journey, something else, someone else, had left their mark here? Perhaps not in carvings, or symbols which erode too quickly, but in subtler ways, in a thin layer of unusual metals, in a sudden shift of carbon trapped within rock, in an arrangement of minerals that hints at fire once too controlled to be natural. The earth hides these things well. It is both a keeper and an eraser. For every story it preserves, it buries 100 more. Fossils dissolve, mountains fold, oceans rise and claim what once stood proud. Civilizations, if they lived and thrived here before us, may have been cold. Under as easily as shells vanishing beneath the tide, God imagined for a moment that this is true at long before us. An intelligence had risen. Picture their world. Do not make it ours. Do not give them skyscrapers or cars or lights in the sky. Instead, let them be strange, because strangeness is more likely than resemblance. Perhaps they built with living trees, bending them patiently, across generations until forests themselves became their homes. Perhaps their art was made not with paint, but with patterns of light, colors woven into the air. Perhaps their science was not written in equations, but sung into harmony with rivers, winds, and stone. They may not even have looked like us at all. They may not have walked on two legs or spoken with voices, but they would have known wonder, and they would have asked questions, and in that they would have been kin, dot, and then gone. Time swept them away as easily as it will one day sweep us. Their forests returned to wildness. Their lights faded. Their bones dissolved into the ground. And all that remains is silence, a silence so deep we mistake it for emptiness. Breathe. Here, let that thought settle. It is not loneliness you are feeling. It is connection. To imagine others before us is to imagine that we belong to a much older lineage than we can see. It is to imagine that intelligence itself is not an accident, but a rhythm repeating like the pulse of the earth that step farther into the canyon. Night has fallen above, and stars scatter across the sky like seeds. You look upward, and it feels as though you're standing inside a bowl of time. Stone beneath you, sky above, both endless, both waiting. The stars themselves are reminders of age. Some of the light reaching you tonight began its journey before humans existed. Some began before mammals existed. Some began before life on land existed at all. You are looking into distances so vast they dissolve the very meaning of now. What if another civilization, long vanished, once looked at these same stars? Perhaps they stood where you stand, though the land was different. The constellations shifted, the air filled with unfamiliar scents. Perhaps they too wondered if they were alone. Perhaps they too felt the pull of mystery as they gazed upward. If so, then in this moment, you are not only looking at stars, you are sharing a gaze. Across millions of years, you are part of a silent dialogue that stretches between civilizations like a bridge of starlight. The thought softens you. It slows the mind, eases the weight of time. Because if intelligence rises again and again, then nothing is truly wasted. Each rise adds something to the universe. A song sung, a thought, a question asked. And those questions, though, the civilizations fade, echo onward, waiting for the next to hear them, the next to carry them farther. Imagine, now that you sit at the bottom of the canyon, the river flows quietly, dark and endless. Its waters have been here longer than memory. carving paths deeper with every century. Listen to it. In its rhythm, you hear the same truth. Nothing is permanent, but nothing is lost. Water evaporates, becomes cloud, becomes rain, becomes river again. So too does life, so too does civilization. The forms change, but the essence continues close. Your eyes here beside the river. Let the sound wash over you. You are hearing not only this river, but every river that has ever flowed. You are hearing time itself, translated into motion. And as you listen, you realize the question of whether there were civilizations before us is not about proof. It is about imagination, about the courage to see ourselves not as the beginning, but as a continuation. Now, picture yourself rising. From the canyon, slowly the walls drift away. The stone dissolves, the river fades, and you are lifted once again into the sky above Earth. From this higher vantage, you can see not just one canyon, but all the scars and stories of the planet. At once, mountain ranges like wrinkles of age, oceans swirling like ink in water, deserts stretching like golden silence. Everywhere, evidence of cycles, growth and collapse, fire and renewal, silence and song. It is here, above the earth, that you see. Most clearly, civilizations are not the exception. They are part of the pattern. Just as forests rise after fire, just as rivers carve valleys, intelligence too may rise, explore, fade, and rise again. Each time unique, each time unrepeatable, yet each echoing the last in spirit. And you, right now, are part of that pattern. Humanity is part of it. We are the song the earth is singing in this age. And though one day the song will fade, another will follow. The melody will never be silenced, only transformed. Take a long, slow breath. Feel your body soften. Feel your mind drift. You are floating between stars and stone, between the past and the future. You are part of a continuum that has no beginning and no end. Others may have walked before you, others will walk after you, but in this moment, you are here, alive, awake, listening to the song of time, and as you rest within it, the question no longer needs an answer. It becomes instead an invitation to wonder, to belong, to let yourself be carried by the ancient, endless rhythm of existence. The night air grows cooler as you linger by the canyon. The wind drifts softly along the stone walls, as though carrying voices from long ago. The river's murmur seems to rise and fall like distant breathing, and you find yourself falling into rhythm with it. Every sound here feels ancient, every silence more ancient still. You are not only in this moment, you are suspended within time itself. Imagine closing your eyes once more. When you open them again, the canyon has changed. It is no longer as you know it now. The stars above are the same, but the ground beneath is different. Millions of years have passed, or perhaps rewound. The canyon walls are freshly carved, sharper, brighter. Strange plants grow where only stone existed before. Insects hum in the heavy air, and you feel as though you have stepped into a dream that belongs to Earth. not to you, Dot, as you watch shapes move near the river. They are not human, yet they move with purpose. They gather, they interact, they respond to one another. Their gestures are not random, they are patterns, echoes of communication. For a moment, you allow yourself to believe you are seeing them. Another civilization, long before ours. Their homes may not look like cities. Their tools may not look like machines, but they are creators. They are dreamers, Dot, and then, like mist, the vision fades. You are back in the present canyon, alone beneath the stars. But the echo of what you saw lingers, as though the earth itself whispered a memory into your mind. This is what it means to listen to deep time. It means allowing yourself to see not only what is visible, but what might have been. It means understanding that the absence of evidence does not erase possibility. The earth has folded and unfolded so many times, it is almost arrogant to think. We are its only storytellers. Dot, take another deep breath. Inhale the silence. Exhale the possibility. Now let your mind drift outward again. You rise slowly above the canyon, above the desert, above the continents. The planet curves below you vast and blue. From this height, history compresses. Mountains rise and fall like the pulse of a heart. Ice spreads and retreats like the drawing of breath. Forests bloom, vanish, return. And somewhere within it, civilizations spark and fade like fireflies in the dark. You are watching not one timeline, but many. Not one story, but countless. Earth has been host to an endless theater of life, each act playing out in its own time. And if civilizations rose before ours, and they too are actors upon this stage, their performances long over, their props long buried. Yet the memory of the stage remains, carved into stone, folded into soil. Drifting through oceans, Dot, let yourself imagine those civilizations more clearly. Perhaps some were small, lasting only a short while, just long enough to create something beautiful before fading. Perhaps others endured for millions of years, stable and wise, leaving no scars behind because they lived in balance with their world. Some may have built with fire and metal. Others may have built with living things, shaping forests and rivers into patterns beyond our comprehension. And now, as you hover above the earth, you realize something profound. It does not matter whether these civilizations truly existed. What matters is that they could have. What matters is the humility this thought brings, the reminder that intelligence is not a singular miracle, but a possibility that the universe explores again and again. Let your breath follow this thought. Inhale, the rise of possibility. Exhale, the release of certainty. You drift higher still, until the earth becomes a sphere of blue and white below you. The silence of space surrounds you, vast and infinite. Stars glitter in every direction, each one a sun, each one a chance for life, for story, for civilization. Some of those lights may host beings looking upward at this very moment, asking the same questions you are asking now. Others may have once held life, long vanished, their worlds now quiet and bare. And here you are, Suspended between them all, a witness to the possibility that intelligence is not unique, but universal. Thought soothes you like a lullaby sung by the cosmos. You do not need answers. You do not need proof. You only need to rest in the wonder, to feel the vastness cradle you, as though you are part of something endless. Now let yourself drift gently back toward the earth. The sphere grows larger, the clouds more detailed, the oceans more brilliant. You descend slowly through layers of atmosphere until you are once again standing at the canyon's edge. But now the canyon is different again. This time it is not filled with visions of the past. It is filled with visions of the future. Imagine, millions of years from now, humanity has faded, as all things must. Our cities have crumbled, our machines dissolved, our stories erased. The earth has turned new pages. Perhaps glaciers have come again. Perhaps deserts have spread. Perhaps forests have covered everything in green silence. And in that silence, perhaps a new civilization rises. Not human, not like us, but intelligent in its own way. They too wonder if they are the first. They too search the stone for memory. They too stand at the edge of a canyon and breathe the same air you are breathing now. This thought brings peace, not sadness, for it means we are not isolated. We are part of a cycle far older than ourselves. We rise, we wonder, we create, and then we make space for what comes next. Just as others may have done for us, Dot, the canyon holds you steady in this vision. Its silence is deep, but within it you hear the faintest music, the music of time itself, long, slow, patient. The song is not meant to be finished. It is meant to be lived, and you are living it now, simply by breathing, simply by listening. Take one more deep breath. Let it sink into you. Let it remind you that you are not alone, not in space, not in time, not in possibility. You belong to a story larger than imagination, larger than history, larger than anything we can name. And in that belonging, you find rest. The canyon is quiet, but it does not feel empty. When you stand at its edge, when you let your mind loosen from the tight grip of daily thought, you begin to sense that silence is not absence. It is presence. It is full, overflowing, dense with stories that do not speak in words. The layers of rock press upward with patience, as if waiting for someone willing to listen, someone willing to linger long enough to hear what they have been saying for hundreds of millions of years. Imagine the canyon not just as a hollow in the earth, but as a library. Each layer of stone is a shelf, and each shelf holds volumes written in a language of minerals, fossils, and chemistry. But unlike the libraries we build, this one is vast, labyrinthine, stretching down into the ground as deep as the stars stretch above. You cannot walk through it in a single night. You cannot read it all in a single lifetime. You can only stand here, open yourself to it, and feel its immensity brush against your awareness like the slow passing of eternity. Somewhere in those shelves, if the Silurian hypothesis is true, there may be the faintest record of others before. U.S., perhaps not bones, perhaps not ruins, but the trace of chemical signatures that should not belong. A whisper of carbon isotopes shifted by machines. A layer of metals that arrived not from meteorites, but from smelters. A subtle anomaly in the soil, so unassuming that only the most patient eye could detect it. And maybe no such record exists. Maybe those before us, if they were real, lived in balance so seamless that they left no scars at all. Imagine that A. Civilization so wise, so attuned to the rhythms of their planet, that they passed through their long story without carving wounds into stone. If such a people lived, their legacy would not be ruins, but harmony, not monuments, but silence. The silence feels heavier now, as if it bends the air. You close your eyes and breathe it in. Inhale, the weight of time. Exhale, the freedom of insignificance. Are beginning to see yourself differently. Not as a lone individual, not as a fragile creature on the edge of sleep, but as part of the same vast tide that has swept across the earth for billions of years. Every life, every civilization, every forest, every ocean wave, they all rise and fall like the breath you're taking now. None are permanent, yet none are wasted. Each becomes part of the whole, folded back into the earth's memory. Open your eyes again. The canyon has shifted once more. Now it glows faintly in moonlight, silver dust outlining each ledge, each curve. And on the far wall, you see shapes moving. Shadows, perhaps, but shadows that suggest form. They do not belong to animals, you know. Their outlines are strange, their gestures unfamiliar. And yet, they move with intention. For a fleeting instant. You feel as though you are being watched in return. Not with menace, not with curiosity, but with recognition. As though they know you are here, and they too are standing at the edge of time, looking back, looking forward. Then the vision dissolves into stone, and you are alone again. Alone, but not lonely. Because loneliness does not exist when you stand within deep time. How could it? You are accompanied by billions of years, by all who have ever lived and all who ever will. Their presence hums beneath your feet, threads itself through your breath, shines down from the stars above. Now let your imagination travel further. A canyon behind. Rise into the air, drift across oceans and mountains, until you see the whole earth below you again. Watch its slow pulse unfold. Continents drift like rafts on molten seas. Ice expands and retreats. Forests bloom, deserts spread, volcanoes blaze, rivers carve new paths. The surface changes, but the rhythm beneath remains the same. A cycle of emergence and return, of life blossoming and life dissolving, and within that rhythm, civilizations are like sparks. They flare brightly for a while, then dim, then vanish, leaving only the faintest trace. Some sparks may be invisible to us now, swallowed by time. Others may still flicker faintly in places we have not yet looked. And still others may rise long after we are gone, new waves of intelligence, cresting on the endless ocean of possibility. Picture this future. Millions of years ahead, the Earth has remade herself yet again. Our cities are gone. Our languages are gone. Our names are gone. But life continues. Perhaps new forms of intelligence emerge, creatures that look nothing like us, that think in ways we cannot imagine. Perhaps they build, perhaps they dream, perhaps they wonder if they are alone, and perhaps they too will one day stand at the edge of a canyon, press their hands against the stone, and feel that strange sensation you feel now, as though the earth remembers them, even if they cannot remember themselves. There is a gentleness in this thought, a kindness hidden within the vastness. It tells you that nothing is truly lost. Even if we fade, even if our monuments dissolve, even if our words scatter like dust, we remain part of the story. Our existence is folded into the planet, into the universe, into the great symphony of time. Let that kindness ease you now. Let it soften your thoughts. Let it cradle you like a slow tide rocking against the shore. Your breath becomes slower, deeper. Inhale, you belong. Exhale, you are at peace. The canyon fades once more. In its place rises an ocean, endless and dark beneath a pale sky. You are drifting above it, not in a boat, but in your own awareness, weightless and calm. The waves move. Below, like a heartbeat, the horizon stretches infinitely in every direction, and for a moment, you feel what it means to be timeless. This ocean is not the present one. It is older, much older. It belongs to a world without humans, without cities, without memory. Yet even here, life stirs. Tiny forms drift in the water. Some glow faintly, like stars scattered beneath the surface. Others swim in patterns, responding to one another, shaping invisible conversations in their movements. Intelligence begins small, almost invisible, but always present. Perhaps civilizations began here too, not with machines, not with cities, but with patterns of cooperation, with networks of communication that we cannot see. Intelligence does not have to look like ours to exist. It only has to wonder, to create, to reach beyond instinct. The ocean breathes beneath you. The waves rise, the waves fall. The rhythm is slow, steady, eternal. You breathe with it now. Inhale with the crest. Exhale with the trough dot. As you drift, you realize something. Sleep is not unlike deep time. Both dissolve the boundaries of ordinary thought. Both carry you beyond the narrow walls of daily life, into a space where you are more than yourself, where you are part of something infinite. Close your eyes once more. Feel yourself sinking gently into this ocean of time. There is no need to resist. There is no need to grasp. You are carried, you are held, you are safe. And as you sink, you hear again the faint music, the same music you heard in the canyon, the same music that flows through stone and sea, through stars and silence. It is the music of the universe itself, a song with no beginning and no end, only variations, only waves. You are one of those waves. You are one note in that song. And that is enough. Rest now in that truth. Rest in the vastness, in the silence, in the possibility. You are home. The ocean dissolves into starlight. Slowly, gently, the dark waters flatten, turn transparent, and lift you upward until you are floating in the quiet sky. The stars above are countless, patient, unblinking. They stretch across the black dome, like grains of salt scattered upon velvet. Some are close, warm, familiar. Others are impossibly distant, so faint that they seem more like memories than flames. And yet each one is real. Each one carries its own history, its own worlds, its own possible civilizations. You drift higher until Earth itself appears below you once again. Round, blue, luminous. A living planet suspended in silence. You notice how small it looks, how fragile, how temporary. And you realize that this small world is not only your home, it may have been home to many before you, to stories hidden so deeply in its skin that only imagination can touch them now. Let your breathing fall in time with the planet's turning. Inhale with the sweep of oceans. Exhale with the quiet spin of continents. Feel how natural it is to be part of this cycle. Feel how restful it is to accept your place in the long procession of time. Now, allow yourself to descend again, slowly, like a feather floating back to earth. You fall through the sky, through drifting clouds that glow with pale silver light. You hear no wind, no sound at all, only the pulse of your own heartbeat echoing softly in your ears. Down and down you go, until once more you are standing upon solid ground. But this is not the canyon, nor the ocean. This is a forest. The trees rise around you like pillars, impossibly tall, their tops vanishing into darkness. The air is heavy, thick with the scent of earth and moss. You can feel moisture in every breath, as though the forest itself is breathing with you. Each inhale fills your chest with life. Each exhale carries away the weight of centuries. This is an ancient forest, older than humans, older than memory. It existed long before your species opened its eyes to the sun, and it may exist long after. Somewhere within this vast woodland, perhaps other beings once walked, beings you will never know, who left no ruins, no stones carved with names, only the faintest traces in soil and stone. Imagine for a moment that you are not yourself, not human, not a creature of this time at all. Imagine you are one of them. You walk through this forest with quiet purpose, hearing meanings in the rustle of leaves, finding direction in the curve of tree roots, reading stories written in the patterns of light. Your civilization does not build towers. It does not carve monuments. It lives within the rhythm of the forest itself, rising and falling with the trees, existing as long as the canopy stretches above. And when it passes, as all things do, its memory is absorbed into the soil, into the trunks of the trees, into the flowing rivers that carry everything eventually to the sea. Not lost, never lost, only transformed. You pause and place your hand upon the bark of one of these giant trees. Its surface is rough, grooved, but beneath that hardness there is life pulsing upward. Sap flows like blood, unseen but unstoppable, carrying nourishment from root to crown. The tree is alive in every part, but it speaks without words. It speaks in silence, and in that silence you feel a kinship deeper than language. Perhaps this was the wisdom of those who came before, not to build louder, higher, brighter, but to build quieter, deeper, more in tune with the earth itself. If so, their memory would not be written in ruins or monuments, but in balance, in harmony, in the invisible thread of continuity that still lingers in the world. Step back now. See the forest as a whole. See how each tree is not separate, but part of a vast network beneath the soil. Roots touch roots. Signals flow in patterns invisible to the eye. The forest is a single body, a single intelligence, breathing slowly through centuries. If civilizations rose here, they may not have seen themselves as apart from this body. They may have been simply another expression of the forest, another way for it to dream itself into being. Breathe slowly with the trees now. Inhale. There. Strength fills you. Exhale. Their patience calms you. The forest darkens as your eyes close, but you are not afraid. The darkness is soft, velvety, infinite. Within it, shapes flicker shadows of memory, echoes of possibility. You see glimpses of rivers that no longer exist, mountains that have long since crumbled, creatures that once walked proudly and are now dust. And you see civilizations, faint and fleeting, rising like sparks, glowing and fading. Not one, not two, but perhaps many, scattered across eras so distant that even the rocks have forgotten them. They do not frighten you. They do not grieve you. Instead, they comfort you, because they show that you are not alone. Humanity is not alone. You are part of a lineage of rising and falling, of wondering and fading, of dreaming and dissolving. The song is larger than any single verse. Now the forest begins to dissolve around you. The trees thin, the ground softens, and soon you find yourself standing once again on open land. The horizon stretches wide, and above it, the night sky deepens into something more vast, more mysterious. The stars seem closer now, as though they lean down to watch you. Look up. Each star is a sun. Each sun may hold planets. And each planet may hold its own oceans, its own forests, its own civilizations. Some may be beginning even now. Some may have ended long ago. Others may be dreaming quietly in forms we cannot imagine. If Earth may have carried many civilizations before humanity, and surely the universe is filled with them. We are not a single story. We are a single thread in a tapestry that stretches across galaxies, across eons. And the thought of this does not shrink you. It enlarges you. It reminds you that to exist at all, to breathe even one breath in the face of such immensity is an extraordinary gift. Let that gift settle over you now, like a blanket of starlight, warm, soothing, safe. Close your eyes if you haven't already. Feel your body growing heavier, sinking deeper into rest. The earth beneath you holds you. The sky above you shelters you. Time itself carries you like a gentle river dot in this state. You do not need answers. You do not need proof. You do not need certainty. You need only to rest in the possibility that life is larger, older, and more mysterious than you have been told. You need only to breathe and to know that your breath is part of a cycle billions of years long. Inhale, you are alive. Exhale, you are timeless dot, and as you drift closer to sleep, the final image settles in your mind. A book with no final page, a song with no last note, a story that stretches endlessly in every direction. You are part of that story, as were those before you, as will be those who come after. Rest in that knowledge. Rest in the silence. Rest in the endlessness of time. For tonight, your only task is to dream. And perhaps, in dreaming, you will touch those who dreamed before and those who will dream long after. Good night.